Welcome back, everyone, for what might be the spookiest episode of any podcast of all time.
Ooh. It's the ghost of Halloween past
Oh, God
and
damn it.
present and just past and present, actually.
That's cool because I've got the Ghost of Halloween future with me.
Are we going to talk about the future of Halloween?
Ooh.
Oh my God.
He says it looks bleak,
Oh,
the future of
no.
Halloween, unless everyone hits subscribe and shares this podcast with a friend, and then the future of Halloween looks excellent.
That's insane that the future of Halloween hinges on that.
It does. It does. It's a bit
Such
like
an ancient tradition.
it's
It,
like Bill and
the
Ted, isn't it?
it's oh my God, it's just like Bill and Ted.
Except they don't do Halloween and it's not a podcast, but they make a song to save the world, and we're gonna make a podcast to save Halloween.
What is exactly?
Um,
Almost higher stakes, I'd say. Halloween's my favorite holiday.
why is Halloween your favorite? Is it because you get to do a special podcast episode?
That's exactly why.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So what are we going to talk about in lieu of this wonderful holiday?
We have a couple of spooky things to talk about.
Ooh.
We are talking about we are talking about 1978's Halloween, the film, not the
This
October
is Halloween.
31st.
This is Halloween. 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 This is Halloween. The movie that famously features that song.
We'll find out about that one. We'll see. We'll see if it does or not. We'll fact check that. We are also slightly late to talking about Alien Romulus, which came out
Another
of,
spooky movie.
and that's why we're doing it, not because Alfie watched it and decided that we should do a month and a half late review on it. We're going to put a pause on spooky proceedings for a minute for some non-spooky news. This is regular news that could apply all
Isn't
year
going to be
round.
too scary.
It's not going to be scary. So if you want to listen for this bit before you get too scared and tune out, just so the first part of the news is one that I'm quite excited by because I feel I feel in some way we are the reason this is happening.
Hmm.
So you might remember, Alfie, 2 years ago we did our first episode of the podcast.
Yes.
And that was about Morbius,
Hmm.
but it was also about the Oregon Trail. And if you want
Hmm.
to know how those two are linked, go back and listen to the first episode. It was announced a couple of days ago. They are doing a live action Oregon Trail movie based on the video
Oh,
game.
what?
Yeah, not based on the actual trail because that would
No.
be boring, but based on the video game. How they'll do that, I don't know. Well, I feel it's a fairly straightforward one to do. Why they're doing it is a
A complete mystery.
hmm, interesting. I feel like it's fairly safe from the video game curse though, because I think it's probably like so sort of um vague and unheard of that
Have we got a release date?
oh we don't. But I would assume it will probably be like we're looking at 2026 by now.
Okay.
So in probably in 2026 you'll be tuning in to listen to the Clovenhoof Oregon Trail movie review and Morbius video game. Um
Do you think we'll ever get a Morbius video game?
no, Morbius has appeared in video games, but I think that's about the extent of it. I read a rumor earlier and it is just that at the minute. It's just a rumor, but they might be bringing Morbius back for some more films.
Why on
Well,
earth?
I think it's got to be just a rumor because we don't really need to tell you what we thought about it. First of all, because there's a whole episode, but also we thought the same as everyone, really. I can't see how they can do that. But that's
No.
that's a rumor I read is he'll be back for a team up movie with the other Sony universe characters. So you'll also remember, hopefully, that we did an episode on Fantastic Beasts 3, Fantastic Threests, the Three Crits of Thrumbledore,
Hmm.
some time ago, and it was announced today that that series is definitively done, which we sort of assumed, but that is not going forward anymore
No.
at all. And if you want
Did
to know
they? I can't
why,
remember. Did they leave it open-ended at the end of the last movie? Was there kind of space for a
yeah,
sequel?
yeah, there was and there wasn't. I feel they probably knew it was pretty damned, but they kind of left it with like. a lot of the wizards are Nazis, and
Yeah.
maybe Grindelwald won, or maybe he didn't, and that is not just because I can't remember it, but it's also because it was pretty loosey goosey
Yeah.
at the end of the fight. I know there was the deer, the little deer that had to pick the next wizard president, and there was a fake deer and a dead deer or something,
Yeah.
and Ezra Miller was a Dumbledore. But they left definitely enough room that we could have maybe seen another one. But no, that is for sure done, and I that's probably something to do with the fact they're rebooting it as a TV series anyway.
I
Um,
see. Yeah, that makes sense, I suppose.
Also probably because they're rubbish. Um, but there we are.
I'd say that would have a large amount to do with why they wouldn't be continuing it.
Maybe
I think it's a strange franchise to try and make a spin-off of. Um, because I mean like Harry Potter in general,
mm,
because there's so obviously, I mean there's so much potential for, expanding more into the lore of that universe because it's really there's just quite a lot of cool stuff you could do with magic. Oh, you know what? Actually, I watched um I watched for the first time the last Harry Potter the other day,
did you like
and
it?
I I did, but I think that it's the same thing. There's so much that you could do with all the magic and all the cool spells and stuff. They have that final fight at the end. Why aren't people, you know, turning people into bubbles and
They could do a lot
whatever?
more with the
They're
magic
just like
side of it.
waving their wands around and making explosions. Nobody's saying anything. And because in the books you have this whole explanation where they have a lesson where they learn how to cast spells without saying anything. But they don't give you that in the movies. There's no sort of point where you realize, okay, well, they've learned how to do this now because just things are happening, things are just blowing up. They're all just blowing everyone up. Um,
Yeah, they reduce. It's just, I think the Fantastic Beasts films were more guilty of it in a way. They reduce it all to just sort of they're kind of just glowing guns.
yeah, exactly. And so if you're gonna try and make a spin-off in that universe, there's so much that you can draw from and use and do and make it so ridiculous and so outlandish and it's got or just like interesting and whatever, put really try and do your own thing and
Well,
introduce cool stuff, but they just didn't bother.
I think we gave a lot more sort of room for discussion about it in the episode dedicated to it, but I think that it was a victim of circumstance with well, first of all, they were just grey and boring, but secondly, there was a lot of scandal revolving around J.K. Rowling. There was then
True.
Johnny Depp case, then there was Ezra Miller's sort of
Oh, true.
rampage.
Oh my God.
So I think that had it not had all of that going on, it probably would have done quite well. And I think that
Yeah.
even when we came to talking about it, we did hesitate and we did think, should we give it the sort of the space? Um,
Yeah.
and we did, but I think a lot of people probably just didn't bother watching it, and I think it did suffer because of that. But yeah, I don't think it's the fact that they're necessarily awful spin-offs. The concept, at least for the first one, was really good. I just think they fell apart at the seams a little bit, and it's just one of
Yeah.
those things, really. I'm not shocked that it's not coming back. I felt that it was our duty as the spookiest news reporters around to talk about a franchise that we gave an episode to. So there we go. It's done. Not coming back. Okay, well I've got some spooky news. And that is that Alien Isolation, the video game, and
Hmm.
Alien Romulus, the movie that we will be talking about, are both getting sequels. That's that's
Ooh.
confirmed, and possibly an Alien versus Predator sequel, which I'm
Game
not
or
super
film or
fussed about. That is a film, and the I think there might be two, but the one that I watched
yeah, I think
wasn't that good.
there is two.
I mean, we won't make our feelings known on whether the Romulus sequel is a good thing yet. That would sort of give away our thoughts on it. But interesting anyway. The game, what I've played, is brilliant. So that's great, even though it came out a really long time ago now. I think it was like 2013 or something. But it's good to see it getting a sequel. I have some alien adjacent news.
Yeah.
Is that David Johnson, who played the character Andy in Alien Romulus? you should
Hmm.
remember, is set to play Sammy Davis Jr. in a biopic, which is quite a cool one.
No way.
Yeah, that also got announced within the last couple days. So it'll be about his affair with Kim Novak, and I think that is cool. I like Sammy Davis Jr. and
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that will be. And he's David Johnson was brilliant in Alien. I've not seen him in anything else, but
No, yeah,
he
neither had
I will
I.
give that away. He is excellent in Alien, so that is very good.
He was really good. Um, so that yeah, that's exciting. That's quite an exciting biopic, I'd say.
Okay, so this is the part of the show. We're really moving along at a clip right now, but this is the part of the show where I invite you, Alfie, to tell me, is there anything that you've any media that you've consumed recently that you've enjoyed?
Media that I've
That
consumed
could
that
be
I have enjoyed.
interesting instruction manuals. That could be a book or
I
a
I have
film.
actually consumed a couple of instruction manuals. I watched Inside Out 2. Um,
Did
and
you
let
not
me
watch
tell
that
you,
before?
maybe did I talk about this on the last episode?
No, I just feel I thought you would have seen it by now.
Oh, no, no, no. No,
Okay,
I watched it the other day. I think since recording last episode.
okay.
I understand entirely that that's not a movie that's made with me in mind. Totally get it. But
I don't think
I
that's true though, because you would have been the target audience for the original, so I think you are equally as in mind as anyone.
I suppose, yeah, maybe. But then in which case, right, that makes it even more frustrating. What I really want, and again, I know this isn't really going to happen. I want to see them put into more morally ambiguous situations. I want to see them deal with some real kind of real spooky shit, you know. I want to see them deal with like things that aren't just like, should she abandon her friends and destroy all of her sort of like integrity and sense of self?
That doesn't sound fun
No,
at
but
all.
it's no, but it's like, but it's just like too basic. But obviously, it's not too basic because it's a kids' movie and it's totally fine and they can deal and grapple with stuff that kids are grappling with and dealing with. But one of her friends robbed a bank. What does she do? You know, she's maybe technically an accomplice. Like, does she go to the police?
I think
Who
sort
knows?
of what you want is like a Family Guy cutaway bit. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
what you want. I
maybe.
think maybe you just need to tune into that, which I think is probably for specifically you, actually.
I don't think. I
I
like to
think
think
Seth
that Family Guy
MacFarlane
is
makes
not made
that
for
with
me.
you in mind.
I really, really hope he doesn't. Mainly because we've never met, and I don't know how. I don't like.
He
He
listens
would
to the
have to be
podcast. He let me know.
okay. In which case,
He
Seth,
found our
get in
email in an
contact.
earlier episode and emailed me, and
Get in contact, McFarlane. I've got some big ideas for your show.
I
Um,
to be
like taking
honest,
it off the air forever.
I don't agree with that. But what I do agree with is that yeah, without probably sort of belittling a kids movie, I was a bit disappointed as a fan of the original. And I don't think with Pixar movies and things like that, it's fair to sort of say it's not for us because they're normally very they're great no matter where you're at in life, I suppose.
I see. Yeah, because I liked the original. Um, I thought it was good. I remember enjoying it. I can't really remember much about it, but I remember enjoying it. Um, the bits I did like were like I don't know. I quite liked Pouchy. I liked the more like weird kind of slapstick out there moments where they were like inside because there is the thing as well where they're like, oh, we're in Riley's imagination zone, and it's like, here's here's the like marshmallow clouds and the candy. It's like that's not what kids imagine. That's so dumb and annoying. I think there's like a general problem with, and it's particularly a problem with kids media and also just a problem with like media made for a mass audience in general is that studios do presume that people are stupid.
I thought it was pretty good. I think one day we probably could give an episode to them or some such film. I'd quite like to go
Yeah.
into depth about a movie such as that.
Yeah.
But I've got something that I have played recently
Okay.
that I'd like to talk about, and that is the new Suicide Squad game. I say new, it's been out for a few months now. an assortment of the greatest hits of the Suicide Squad. You got Harley Quinn,
Yeah,
you got King Shark, you got
yeah.
Deadshot, you got Captain
King
Boomerang.
Shark, definitely one of the greatest hits.
From the second film, he's probably the best part, to be honest. And also, I think yes, the greatest hits of the Suicide Squad. If you were a fan of the Suicide Squad, which you're not, um, and you got some other little DLC characters. What I will say about the game is I didn't buy it at full price. I waited. I showed some restraint and I waited till it was £13, and
Hmm.
I think I probably would rather have dropped £13 down the drain.
Okay.
It's
Well,
truly
that's a
awful.
positive route. Oh, okay.
There's
I see.
one brilliant and like actually spooky section. Not even spooky as a joke, in which so the whole Justice League has been turned evil and cloned or whatever.
Oh
And
God.
there's a bit where you got to sneak through like this dark setup, and you're being hunted by Batman, and he's got all like sort of smoke and red light. It looks excellent, and it's actually like it made me jump a few times. It's brilliant, and it's really
Uh-huh.
disappointing because that segment was one of the best I played in any sort of game like that. And then you get thrust back out into the rest of the game, and it's just awful. And it's one of those games that's like live service. It's always online. You can't play it offline.
Okay.
You also, I don't think you can team up with random people, so you either have to play an always online game on your own or have mates who play it. And if they've got any sense, they won't.
That's infuriating.
I feel as if when you had Helldivers come out recently, Helldivers 2, which is an always online team up squad game, much in the vein
Yeah.
of Suicide Squad, and it did it so well. Obviously, it's slightly different because you kind of not got a rigid story, but it did it so brilliantly,
Yeah.
as you know. And then you play Suicide Squad, and you're just sort of fighting hordes and hordes of like kind of shapeless purple aliens, and also obviously a redeeming feature of these sorts of games is usually like the Avengers game, which was sort of panned. The redeeming feature of that is every character has their own unique abilities. They've all got their
Yeah.
superpowers. They've all got their thing going on. Not in Suicide Squad. They all have guns. Everyone uses a gun. King Shark uses a gun. Captain Boomerang uses boomerangs. No, he doesn't. He uses a gun. Harley Quinn uses a gun. So then you think, why is Deadshot in here? What's unique about him? Oh, he uses guns. Oh, but that's not unique anymore. So
Does he use
why
them
was it
better
him?
than anyone else?
No. I chose in a gun wielding game. I chose Captain Boomerang to play as.
Uh,
You would think that in a gun game you would choose the one who's good at guns, but they're all the same. It's rubbish, and
they're
I'm
all
not
the
going to give
same
any.
at guns.
Yeah, I'm not going to give any more time to it. I just wanted to say that I have played it, and
That's
it's
so
awful. It's
ridiculous.
really bad, and I feel so bad for anyone that spent like 60 quid on it. And
Yeah.
admittedly, all of the DLC is free, which is good, but I still won't download it, and it's shit.
Okay.
So that's all, and there won't be a sequel. And I believe that Warner Brothers laid off most of Rocksteady who made it afterwards. Probably it's like this because Warner Brothers pushed for it to be like a, you
Yeah.
know. So sorry,
I mean,
guys
that's
at
so
Rocksteady.
often the story
Yeah,
of these things. It's like where all the
yeah, but
complaints
just
sort of
stop it. Just
yeah.
stop. It never
Yeah.
works. Nobody ever likes it. Nobody's ever gone, yeah, I'm really glad this game was, always online and live service. Nobody likes it. It's rubbish. If I had bad Wi-Fi, I couldn't play the single player game that I bought for full price.
Yeah.
That's mad. Quick update, everybody, before we carry on the episode. This is our second take of it. We got all the way through the episode last night and realized that we only recorded the first third of it. So, apologies for the lack of spookiness and the lack of enthusiasm that may be evident, but we will try our best.
We can keep it spooky. It can
We
still
can
be
keep it
spooky
spooky, but it's hard to keep it so spooky when you've already been spooked out the night before. You become
when you're
desensitized to
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
true. Grown wise to the spook.
Well, exactly. My Halloween was yesterday. It's done now. I'm not scared of
Yeah.
anything anymore. The ghost of Halloween future. as he's left. He went. So I'm
I mean,
sat
we're
here
now
alone.
living in the Halloween future that he so that he was here to predict,
Well,
that he was here to warn us about.
I hope we're not, because that was a dire future with no podcasting or anything,
That's true.
because we weren't there to save it. Bear with us, basically. We're trying. Um, Boy, do we have a treat for you, and maybe a few tricks too. The treat we have in store for you, as you've read in the title, is Halloween the film. We're going to talk about Halloween the film for the second time. We've already talked about it
All
once.
Hallows Eve.
Don't even worry about it. We're going to do it again, and we will try our damnedest to bring the same energy that we did when we talked about it last night.
I think we can just launch straight in because come on now, this movie is about 200 years old. So if you haven't seen it, you're just gonna have to deal with having it spoiled for you.
Yeah,
Um,
we're not.
Let me
Yeah,
just
we're
say
not
one
worrying about
thing.
spoilers. So for the second time, Alfie, can you kind of briefly, in as few words as possible?
Weird child hates women and sex, kills sister, is locked up, escapes comically, goes back to hometown to indiscriminately kill young women and people engaging in sex.
I think you could have done that in fewer words.
Okay, weird guy called Mike kills people. Was Mike Myers an established actor before
No,
Michael Myers?
no, I'm fairly confident that in 1978, Mike Myers was not really a household name.
Yeah, no, actually that makes sense.
It's a long time ago.
I'm just gonna quickly just polish off my pastry so you can tell the viewers about fill in where the gaps that I've left in the story.
There's not really any gaps with that. Michael Myers escapes prison after killing his sister some 15 years before he's 21, and he just kind of decides that he doesn't really like babysitters, really. And that brings me on to a fun fact: is that the film was originally titled The Babysitter Murders. But they changed it to Halloween and set it on Halloween, and that's kind of what happens. He murders some babysitters, and that's about it, really. So that's what happens. That's what happens in the film Halloween. Not much other than some murders. But do tell Alfie. We'll start. You're a cynic, okay? You admitted that I think possibly earlier in the episode, or maybe you admitted it later in the episode, and nobody will ever hear it. But you are a self-proclaimed
Hmm.
movie cynic. So be cynical.
Um, I just, I think, you know what? When we spoke about this last night in the recording that the world will never hear, I really just decided to really go in on this film a little bit, and I do feel, having got that all out of my system, a little bit more positive about it now. But there are still things that I felt that like I don't know. I think there are certain examples of when something is the founding moment of a genre or of a style or of something like that, that everything after it then sort of like references and calls upon, and it's incredibly influential and it's incredibly important. And I understand that this movie is one of those for that sort of slasher style of horror thriller movie. Um, but it does, but it's just it's not very good. It's not very well made. I don't think it's like it feels like a student movie. I feel like it's paced horribly. I feel like it's like shot like by a guy who's never used a camera before. The acting is horrendous. The line delivery is so bad, like so often. Like there's weird kind of just like like bits that feel really forced to try and create tension. I don't know. You can and do have to look past that to enjoy this movie, which I did, and I did like it, and I did have fun watching it. But like, oh my God, it feels like, and I don't know, I know that there are reasons for that, which we'll get into.
Would you believe it if I explained that nobody did have any idea what they were doing?
and that nobody ever had made a movie before.
Not in history, but nobody on set for sure. Yeah, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that nobody had any idea what they were doing other than Donald Pleasance. It wasn't always Donald Pleasance. It would have been Dr. Loomis. Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee were both offered the role, but turned it down because it didn't
Hmm.
pay them enough money. Let's talk about money because I there is not once you have the context of this, there is not a single nit I have to pick. I have no issues with it learning
Hmm.
this. So the budget for the film was $300,000, which isn't a lot at all. At the time, it was obviously more, but that's a cheap movie regardless. Uh, Half of that, so $150,000, was spent on a Panavision camera because John Carpenter insisted on having a specific aspect ratio. On a budget of $300,000, this movie made $47 million. That's the modern day equivalent to $150 million. So it's a cheap film, and half of that budget was spent on a Panavision camera. Um,
Yeah, which is wild to spend half of
yeah,
it on one camera.
yeah, it's mad, but not for picture quality purposes because like it was to the cinematography's detriment in many ways, but just
Hmm.
just because he fancied that aspect ratio, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
which
know what,
is
don't remember what exact aspect ratio it is because I'm not like a total nerd, but you can look it up if you really want to know. You can look it up. But this meant that the crew then didn't have enough money to pay for proper lighting, so most of the film is shot at night, and most of it relies on like just regular street lights.
2.39 to 1 anamorphic aspect ratio.
Okay, well, cool. I'm
Shows
sure
more
the
of the
film's better
landscape.
for it. Well, that's great. It's very much the equivalent of a student film, but I think that
Yeah.
you do need to remember, like you said, that it is pioneering the genre. It's by no means the first, slasher film. It's also by no means the first horror film, but it's sort of I think the one that sort of famously refined it. It is definitely sort of a genre defining film, and it's I think you need to treat it as
Absolutely.
such,
Yeah.
and just have fun with it. I don't think it's kind of we the reason that we started with what don't you like is because I know you like to have a little cynical whinge about a film, but I'm now going to ask you what did you like, if anything.
Um, I I think I liked the fact of how like weird everyone is, like weird and stupid. And because obviously that's a bit of a horror movie trope, isn't it? Is that like everyone seems like they've never experienced more than 5 minutes of life as a person. Where like like the policeman finds that somebody's broken into the hardware store, stolen two knives and some rope and an evil mask, and they're just like, probably just some kids. Like, no, like look into that, right?
Yeah,
Like that sounds bad.
I
That sounds
think
like the kind
not
of thing that
even
you'd be
that.
like, oh God, who was that? Oh no.
I think it's not even that. It's what makes it even sort of weirder is that presumably in broad daylight the shop is open. Right, they're investigating
Yeah.
broad daylight. The alarm is going, the glass is smashed. So you would assume that the shop is open in daylight, which suggests to me that he broke in the night before and they waited till like just sort of midday. Uh, Went there,
Yeah.
thought it was kids, didn't turn around and see that he is parked in a car that he stole from the doctor who is on the scene, like right behind them, just watching it happen. And then he proceeds to drive slowly past them. Like,
Like
it's
watching them, looking out the
yeah,
window at them.
it's mad, but I think that like you said, that's sort of just a horror trope. Everyone is stupid because if
I
everyone
I
wasn't stupid, it wouldn't work.
I like the fact that the policeman is constantly blaming stuff on just going like, oh, it's probably just some kids. It's always just some kids. But the kids of that town, one of the kids so there's been a kid from that town who is now Michael Myers, who's about to murder also the policeman's daughter, right? And then, um, and then it's just like, oh, but it's probably just some kids who are stealing, like, also the knife that we see later on that he obviously stole, massive kitchen knives capable of like running a person through and
Does the
then
policeman turn back up on the scene?
holding their body weight to the wall. No.
Because what I was Like, is he aware that Michael Myers killed his daughter?
I
I mean,
presumably
that's his
eventually,
fault
but we
too,
don't
because
we
he
never
just
see that on
well,
film.
yeah, okay, fine. I'm not asking you if like at some point he realizes his daughter isn't there, but like because the policeman is there at Michael Myers' house and with Dr. Loomis,
Yeah.
played by Donald Pleasance, who incidentally was often drunk on set. And he's there at Michael Myers' house, and he's asked Dr. Loomis, "Oh, do you want me to wait with you? You know, how are we playing this?" Dr. Loomis is just like, "Nah, I'm just gonna wait on my own here. I'll wait for him to come back." I don't really know what he thinks he's going to achieve because he obviously didn't do a very good job as a doctor if, his patient is still
No.
murdering. Um, but like also, yeah, like as a police officer, surely you'd be like, "No, I'm not just gonna leave you there while this like murderer is out and about." And had he stayed, his
I
daughter
feel
wouldn't
like
be dead.
the policeman should be more suspicious of everybody involved.
Do you
He
think
should
that?
be more suspicious of Dr. Loomis. He should be like, this guy's weird. There's something up here.
Yeah, he's
He
turned
should
up
be
at the
more
scene of
because everyone
the
just blames it
break-in.
on him as well. Or like everyone's just trying to blame everything on everybody as well. Like when he goes to the institution where Michael Myers was locked up, and he accuses them of teaching him to drive. And the guy's like, "Oh, well, he was your patient. Why weren't you keeping an eye on him?" And he's like, "Well, but like," and everyone's just like at each other's throats. But also, nobody seems to actually care. Like nobody's taking it particularly seriously, except Dr. Loomis, who is just like, "But it's all your fault, and it's everyone else's fault." It's like no one has got
I
any
I
idea what's
liked
going
that
on.
his
Nobody's got
entire
any kind of like
movie,
consistent viewpoint.
his whole like movie screen time is spent just driving from place to place, going, "Yeah, Michael Myers escaped," and everyone's like, "Yeah, okay,
Okay.
cool." And then he's like, "Yeah, so like what I'm gonna do is probably just like wait outside for him." And
Yeah,
that's
I'll just
it.
wait here. Yeah,
That's the
no one's got
plan.
any urgency
No one's
either.
got any
There's
urgency,
no
but then that's
urgency.
lucky actually, because neither does Michael Myers, because he walks everywhere, and when he drives, it's not exactly like he's hightailing it away. Like he's cruising, and by when I say cruising, I mean he's going out walking pace down whichever road he's going down. So maybe that's just part of the town. Maybe they've all been raised on this sort of non-urgent lifestyle where like things are happening, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, man.
Why is nobody saying anything about this really weird built guy driving around really slowly outside of schools wearing a spooky mask and overalls? Like, nobody's doing anything about that. Like, why is no one even just going and speaking to the
I kind of
completely
always like
unbothered policeman?
I always wondered why back in like the 70s and 80s they put out these like I don't know if you've heard of Charlie Says, this is definitely a regional thing, but where they had to put out like little PSAs to tell kids not to like get kidnapped. And I always thought like
Well,
why did
making it the kids' problem, is it?
yeah but
Telling kids not to get kidnapped. Don't
yeah,
tell
but I
anyone else
always
not to
thought,
kidnap the kids.
well, there is that. Yeah, God, how dare they? But I always thought, like, why did they need these? Like, why did they need to be told not to get kidnapped, and why did they need to be told, like, don't run off with a stranger? But like, I can see how, because films are obviously a product of their time, as we like to say, but like definitely in this case, like why was everyone back in the 70s and 80s just so like flippant about everything? Like they just like didn't care. Like there's a murderer going around and
But
this
do you think
happened in real
that's
life
just like
too.
a yeah?
It happened. I mean,
Do you
look at
think that's
Ted
just a
Bundy, for
product of like
example.
yeah?
Like he escaped from the courthouse. Like he got out of the courthouse and they were just like, yeah, like whatever. And they didn't catch him again till he had done more murders. And then when he was caught, like the judge was just like, yeah, well, he seems like a nice enough chap. Like, no, but, like it's real. It's not even like it's not
It's because he
even.
knew that there'd be big bucks in a Netflix documentary in about 20, 30 years
And a Zac
time
Efron film.
and a Zac Efron film. He knew there'd be big bucks in that. So
Yeah.
he thought I'm gonna long this out as long as I
So
can.
that's like kind of what I want to know is like are these films where we have this stereotype and we're kind of bashing it for like everyone is dumb and yada yada yada. Is it just like Is that just what it was like? If you're from the 70s, whether you're a time traveler or you were just around then, comment below and say, yeah, we were dumb. Like,
Was everyone kind of asking to be kidnapped all
yeah,
the
was
time?
everyone asking to be kidnapped and killed? Why are they letting him drive around outside the school? Like,
Yeah.
why is there no police presence around his house? Like, they shouldn't accept a doctor being like, yeah, no, I don't need that. That shouldn't be an acceptable thing. And also, like, why were two girls and a guy murdered before, like, the police even thought about showing up? And even then, I don't think the police actually showed up. The doctor showed up and
No, they
shot him in
don't.
the head.
Yeah.
Why don't the police show up? Ever?
Also, yeah, the doctor who's just packing, right? And he flashes his gun at the policeman, and the policeman's just kind of like, huh.
Yeah, the policeman goes, "Are you scared?" And the doctor's like, "Yeah,
The
yeah, I
Yeah,
am."
the doctor's like, you must think I'm a pretty paranoid doctor or something. Don't worry, I've got a license for it. Doesn't show it. The policeman's just kind of like, yeah, no, that's all right. I believe you. It's like this really paranoid, like weird guy who's
Yeah,
trying
he
to like
never
hang out
shows
outside this
any
haunted house,
doctor's
telling him doesn't
license
matter,
either.
and he's got a gun on him. It doesn't show any documentation for either of for either of those things. He's packing a gun. The policeman's just like, yeah, whatevs, man.
Like I said, it's
And
80s. That
it
would
was probably
explain
just kids.
because Laurie, who is actually like we've not even mentioned Laurie. Laurie is, I think, probably one of the best female protagonists in a horror movie of the time. Like she's not a total idiot. She's a bit stupid, but she's not a total idiot, and also she's not just like totally sexualized, which is quite good. Um, but
She's constantly delivering really funny, weird one-liners though, which I really like.
yeah, I think she's
Um,
great. I think she's great. I, I'm not necessarily saying they were well delivered, but she's
yeah,
funny. But so her and the police officer's daughter drive past the police officer when he's outside the hardware store and they're smoking a joint, um, which
yeah,
isn't legal, by the way, everyone. That the context there.
yeah. Oh my
Um,
God, they were smoking a joint with the windows rolled up,
yeah,
right? And then, so that car stinks of weed.
yeah, for sure. When they
Absolutely,
when they
should
open the
be should
window,
be clouded up in there. Yeah, and they're just like, hey, and he he doesn't care. He doesn't give a
well,
shit.
this leads
He
me to
doesn't
my
care
next
about
theory.
anything.
I've got a movie theory. Do you think they're all just like total stoners in that town? And that's what, like, when Michael Myers turns up, they're just like, yeah, whatever, man.
So, yeah.
Whatever.
Well, no, because if they were
Fine.
massive stoners, they'd all be, you'd hope, a
Oh,
little
they'd be
bit more
geeking a little
paranoid
bit.
all the
Yeah, they might be a
time,
bit
wouldn't they?
paranoid. Well, that's why the doctor's paranoid. That's why he's pulling his gun at the plank that hits the window.
It doesn't
Yeah,
work as well, but
yeah,
he's pranging. He's pranging hard.
yeah. No, it's a great film. I'm not. I don't. And not even just because I'm like more positive than you. About these things. I get your criticisms, but like I can't say anything bad about this film. I'm not an optimist when it comes to films by any means. I can be just as critical as anyone, but I don't
Mm.
have a bad thing to say about Halloween, and I genuinely think it's I think rivaled only by Nightmare on Elm Street for sort of
There are
king of
there
this
are
genre.
there are loads of bits that I really did love, and bits that I like. There's stuff about the slight kind of amateurish ham-fistedness of the way that it's shot and the way that it's put together that I do think actually really benefit it in making it like fun.
Yeah.
Um, like stuff like the shots where you've got Laurie sitting like crying with her back turned to Michael Myers and you just see him in the background and it's just like come on, come on. It's not even like making suspense, it's just like it's so hilariously obvious that he's about to get up
She stabs him
that
in the
like
neck
there's
like
no
three
two ways about it. You
times,
see that shot. Yeah,
and
I know.
every time
You
she
see that
turns her
shot
back on
and it's
him.
just like okay. Yeah, I know. And she keeps doing that. And then there keeps being shots of her sitting down with him in the background. And you just know. And it's not even like you just know because it's like ham-fisted, but it's so funny and it's so good. He just gets up and you're like, no way. I can't believe it.
I like when she hides in like the dresser, and he walks into the room, and you're kind of
Yeah,
like,
what?
will he? Won't he find her? And he just like immediately. He's like, yeah, she's in there.
Yeah, just walks
And just
straight
tears
over.
tears the door
Because
apart.
where else would she be
Well, no, because
as
she
well?
opened
What
the
kind of
window to
hiding spot
throw.
was
She
that? I know
opened
she
the
tries
window
to
to
make it
throw
look
him
like
off.
she. Yeah, no, I know, but like he just would know in that
Wouldn't you like
situation.
chance it? Because he only walks, he doesn't run. So wouldn't you chance it and actually just climb out the window and hope you can't follow very quickly?
Yeah.
I mean, when's he
Yeah,
learned to
not back
climb?
myself into a tiny confined space.
Because like if I had been in prison since I was 6 and had nothing to climb at all, I would probably look out the window and go, yeah, yeah, shit, I can't get down there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to
Yeah, I
begin.
just don't know how.
Yeah.
I've just never even seen anyone do
Yeah,
anything like that.
this is unreal. I've been locked in a box. It's just dumb. I mean, the thing is with this, there's not huge amounts more to say. It's a totally dumb movie, and we're only doing it because it's Halloween and it's all spooky, and it's a spooky movie. I think it's there's some
Sorry,
very
Ghost just came through.
oh, not again. There's some very good examples of building suspense very well. There's it's quite funny intentionally in many ways. It's a great film. It's very fun, and I don't think there's much we can sort of sit here and analyze about it because it's what you'd expect. It cost like 3 pence to make. The lead actor, well, would you call him the lead actor Donald Pleasance? I suppose so, along with Jamie Lee Curtis. One of the two lead actors was drunk, and what's new? It's a 70s
But yeah, you
movie.
haven't actually specifically spoken about that because we did
No,
when we
yeah.
recorded this last time.
When Donald Pleasance arrived on set, he and John Carpenter they kind of rubbed each other up the wrong way a little bit and didn't really get on. John Carpenter was thrilled to be working with him because it's a big name for your first film. But they didn't really work well together
He's
and
the only
to
guy who'd ever seen a film set before, it would seem.
yeah, and to sort of
Yeah.
test him and see if he really was making this film because you know, he really felt it. He decided to just mess with him a little bit, and before filming his first scene, downed 2 bottles of red wine, and the production assistants were all having a panic because they thought there is no way he's going to be able to do this. There's no way he can remember his lines or even talk, probably, and and he
And
does,
he
and he
is
does
like
it.
stumbling on his
He
lines a couple of
is.
times.
But not like I mean you noticed it. You said it last night, but like not to
Yeah.
the point where you would go, "Is this guy drunk?"
This guy
Just
is
to the
this guy
point
two
of
bottles
like,
of wine deep.
yeah, you just sort of think, "Oh, he's a bit mumbly," but like, yeah, fair play to him. I think
Yeah.
you can't do that
I mean,
anymore
if
because of
anything, I think it
woke.
would make his character would make more sense if he his character would make more sense if it was established that he was drunk all the time, I think.
Uh,
If he was just kind of going, "Oh no, like don't worry about it. Just I'll
yeah,
be
but how
fine.
many how many
Just
films
I'll
have you
just
seen
do
with
it.
like a drunk in a trench
I'll
coat?
just wait around
Like,
for him. I'll wait around for him here and just yeah, you just go and I'll do it. Don't even worry about it.
so
I got a gun. I've got a gun on me, but it's okay. Don't worry."
I think we've sort of, I think
I think that would add a lot to the character.
they're all drunk back then, and they're all in brown
I got a
trench coats.
drinking problem and a gun on me, and I know what's going on, but nobody else does, and they don't believe me because I'm a drunk.
I think probably without overdoing it, we've said all you can say. I think if you haven't seen it, like go and see it. It's great. It's like £1 to watch, and it's very good
Yeah.
value for money for that. And it is Halloween, of course. So if you
Oh, you know what?
are
Actually, I watched the whole thing on YouTube.
for free,
Yeah.
okay. Well, the whole movie's on YouTube, which is great. I don't think that
Yeah,
that does the
go watch it. There's an
thing is though.
extended edition on YouTube as well, actually, that I didn't watch.
You should have watched that because I've not seen. I don't think that watching it on YouTube does the £150,000 Panavision camera justice, though, does it? Is there different aspect ratios on YouTube?
It's it's absolutely fine.
No, I get that
Watched it
it's.
on
I'm not saying the
YouTube
quality is
on
going to
the
be bad, but like, when you pirate a movie through YouTube, does it get posted with the
well,
original aspect
I
ratio, or is it just like full
oh
screen?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine
absolutely.
then. Okay, cool.
I
Because
was
he
taking
spent a lot
full
of money on that.
yeah, no, of course. I
You
wouldn't
got
want
to
to
appreciate
rob
that.
Dun,
We've
dun, 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 dun.
the theme is
Didn't
brilliant.
even mention them. Yeah, and so it is brilliant, but it's just playing the whole time. Like anything happens, anything at all happens. Like you pan over, Michael Myers is standing like anywhere, or like somebody says something, just like anything at all, and it's like dun 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 dun, to the point where it like ever so slightly loses its impact because he's a composer before being a director, and he's obviously written this great theme, and so he's just like, I'm just gonna chuck this in my movie. I'm just gonna put it every the whole time this is gonna be playing.
As overplayed as it is, and you're quite right, it is bordering on comical. It's brilliant. So let's move it on.
Hang
Okay.
on, I just can't quite remember. When was John Carpenter born?
Yeah, that's a fun fact to move us on. Do you know what? These are linked. They're not just linked because it's scary. We've got two movies that are so closely linked, right? So John Carpenter was born in 1948. Big year for movies. John Carpenter was born
Big year for John
in
Carpenter.
what I would argue is a bigger year for movies. 1949.
Ooh, so just one
1949 was
year after.
just 1 year after. We can actually pretend that they're the same year if you want. Sigourney Weaver was born,
I'd
and
say
that leads us into Alien
she was
Romulus,
not.
which she's not in. She's an alien. But before we do Alien Romulus, Alfie Deverell, would you say that Halloween is better or worse than Megalopolis?
Better.
Definitively, because yesterday you ummed and ahed about it a little bit, so now it's
I no,
definitively
it's
better.
absolutely better.
Okay, that's good because the one thing I wanted to like remind you when you were bashing it is you're bashing it because it's comically bad and poorly written and lines are delivered badly and it looks bad, but like
Yeah,
that's Megalopolis that you're describing there.
yeah,
But the only difference is that one of them cost 300,000 and one of them cost like upwards of 100 million.
yeah.
So Halloween's better than Megalopolis. So you're saying that Halloween is the best movie we've ever seen,
I'm that's what I'm willing to push the boat out and say.
and
Yeah,
you're also saying that Megalopolis is the worst movie we've ever seen.
I'd be happy to agree to that.
Okay. I wouldn't agree to that, but it's definitely the worst movie this season of the podcast.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. How spooky was that?
I'm
Are you feeling
I'm
scared?
shivering.
You cowering behind the covers?
I'm absolutely shaking with fear.
Are you doing that thing where you make sure that all of your arms and legs are in the bed and your head is under the duvet so that like the scaries can't see you?
Oh boy, am I.
Are you doing that? Okay, good. Good because they can see you, and that's the only
Ah,
thing stopping them from seeing you.
ah. Okay, whew, phew.
Yeah.
At least that's stopping them.
So,
Sigourney Weaver was born in 1949. John Carpenter
yeah,
was born in 1948. Those are about a year apart, probably. Maybe there's a difference in months because of when they may or may not have been born.
it's just
Sigourney Weaver
under a
was in
year.
Alien. Alien was made into loads of more movies, and then the last one that came out was Alien Romulus, also scary movie as well.
Yeah, which is why we're doing it, and we're not doing it because we're just late to doing it. Um,
No.
we're better than that. We're doing it because the trailer was scary.
Why don't you tell us about?
Spoiler
Yeah, go
free?
on,
No
go on.
spoilers?
Just give me a, just hit me with the spoilers. I
Do
mean,
you know what? I'm gonna spoil it. It's been out for like 2 months. Go and watch it. Um, so Rain is. I'm already doing better than yesterday because I couldn't remember her name. Rain is. She's a miner, and I don't mean a child. I mean she's working in the mines,
from an
and
evil mining planet
and
that's
something
just
I
mining.
yeah, it's an evil mining planet that's in the future, except they still use canaries in the mines, which I thought was
Yeah,
quite
I thought
cool.
that was weird.
And I just
You
before
think
we
they'd
go
use a
anywhere.
xenomorph or something?
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's the most like evil, horrible planet, and they have that big, horrible mining machine from the first Alien that, or is it the second Alien? It doesn't matter. Where Ripley
It's
kills
Sullust
the.
from Star Wars.
No, Stardust is nicer than it doesn't. That doesn't matter. No, do you know what it is? Is it's a rehash of a film we also reviewed. Go back and listen to it of Solo when he goes to that mud planet and meets Chewbacca.
Yeah, it's that.
She's on the mud planet from Solo, a Star Wars story, and she doesn't like it, and wants off it, and she wants to see the sun, so she did see the sun, but in a dream, and She has a brother called Andy who is a robot, but they're siblings because her parents took Andy in because he's kind of malfunctioning a little bit, but he's kind of hot. And
He's a little geek.
he's a little geek, and all of her jock mates come back, and they're all just boisterous losers. It definitely,
Yeah, they all
definitely
suck.
Bjorn. They all suck, but especially Bjorn.
Yeah.
They all come back from wherever they went, and they're like, "Hey, Rain, there's a space station out there that has some cryopods on where we can freeze ourselves for the 9 year journey to the nearest planet with a sun." And she's like, "Yeah, cool." And they're like, "Yeah, but we don't really need you. We need your robots." So they both go, and obviously there's aliens on the ship, and
There's
they
Alien Romulus.
the ship is called Romulus, and there are aliens
Alien
on it.
Romulus.
Yeah, and there's also Alien Remus next to it. So
Hmm.
presumably we'll visit Alien Remus at some point. And
Probably
yeah,
not because it was destroyed.
that's true. And they all die, and that's all that happens in an alien film, except Rain and possibly Andy, who
Yeah.
live. Which I probably we spoiled that earlier in the episode by saying there's a sequel coming. Um, yeah, I mean that's what happens. If you want to know what I didn't like, I feel like that would be your next question, probably, because that's what we did with Halloween. Um, I thought it was pretty great right up until the final act of the film when it became
Yeah.
awful and like just a horrible Prometheus callback with a horrible Prometheus man who looks like he's dripping with milk and he serves absolutely no purpose other than to just sort of like prolong the third act a little bit because he
Yeah.
doesn't do anything other than get killed and
Yeah.
it's I mean like I'm not even gonna sort of begin to be able to explain that um, because I didn't really understand it either. One of the K is pregnant, and when they go to space, which is just a crazy liability, and they inject her with some alien goo, which there's a 25% chance it will work because it shares 20 because a human shares 25% of DNA with a rat, and it worked on a rat. So they inject her with the
It
goo.
didn't even work on the rat. You see it not work on the rat, right?
I'll be really honest with you. I don't remember that, so I didn't see it not
There's like
work
a
on the
bit
rat.
where they're like, it worked on 25% of worked on the rat. And then there's a shot of
Did
the
it
rat like
did it
getting all,
25% work on the rat?
the rat gets all like tweaked out with alien goo.
Okay,
And you
so they
see it
tweak her out with
happen.
alien goo, and it infuses her baby with a Prometheus man, but also well,
Obviously.
and
That's
you go
obviously how that
yeah,
goes.
well no, like it is actually if you've watched Prometheus, but nobody watched Prometheus because it was rubbish. But it infuses her with a Prometheus baby, and also that Prometheus baby is like part xenomorph also, and has a tail for a bit.
Hmm.
Uh, I think I think that's all that let it down really. Um,
I think there's a few more bits. But it just loses steam towards the end. It just totally falls off. The first act, it got going quite quickly. It was quite nice. You know, it's not long before they're up in space on Alien Romulus. Um, and then
yeah, that's true actually. You like I think you probably spend about 10 minutes before being straight
before you're
into
you're in
it.
it, um, and it kind of it builds up quite quick. You get to your point where they're on the spaceship or on the space station. They're looking for the cryopods. It seems to be going all right. And there is a kind of like feeling that, oh, maybe these guys are just gonna get off, even though obviously they're not. And yeah, it's like quite well paced. It kind of makes sense. It's all sort of like, and then it just slowly starts to just kind of descend. By the time you get, yeah, like two-thirds of the way through the movie, there's like 100 aliens, 100 xenomorphs. They're just that, and they're just they're just they're gonna get you, but kind of not really. They don't really seem like they can actually do very much, because Rain's just kind of on her own, just shooting them all just with a gun, and that's just
Well,
like
there's
enough
no
to
because
deal
there's
with them
more
all.
to it than that in that First of all, the gun is not human operated, which is a bit of an advantage. It's a robot gun. Secondly, they turn the gravity off, and well, I don't know why the aliens struggle in zero gravity because you think they spend most of their time in zero gravity, but they don't really do very well with that.
Yeah, they've been on that ship that whole time in zero gravity, haven't they?
Yeah, except when it does a gravity flush.
I mean, anyway, regardless, there is just that. So there's the one xenomorph that's on the ship with K.
Mhm.
Um, and that one you feel real sort of like actually. So because one thing I mentioned when we recorded this last is that I've never seen another Alien movie, and from what I could tell, it kind of felt a little bit like they had so because in Alien, original Alien, there's one alien, and Ripley's got to deal with it.
Can I just ask how you know that if you've not seen Alien?
Because I've watched loads of videos talking about it, and I know people who like it, and I've heard loads about it
Do they
because
every
it's
time
also
you
because
talk to
it's like
someone
a
you like, do they always go, yeah, there's one alien in it?
yeah because no, but that's just like
No, yeah,
everyone
it's
knows
true. No,
about
no,
Alien.
it's true. I just kind of wondered. That was all. I'm not trying to
Um,
catch you out. There's not more aliens. I just,
No, but in the first Alien, there's one alien, and then the second Alien, Aliens, there's suddenly loads of aliens. And what I hear is that people f felt like that diminished the threat factor of the one alien because it's just like, oh God, well now there's just like 100. Well, Jesus, what are we gonna do about this? Ah, shoot them all, and it's fine. Um, but I feel like from what I know about the original older Alien movies, this kind of, and from speaking to people who have seen them, this movie feels a little bit like The Force Awakens of Alien, where they've just gone back and tried to rehash a few things that worked from the original with the same kind of visual style that they've leaned really hard on.
mm.
The same kind of like, I don't know, they've tried to do the same thing, and that's a criticism that
Yeah,
I've seen of
actually,
it, and
I'd
it's
like to
come
talk
out
about that.
just as kind of slightly flat and disappointing
I
as was.
I would argue with that in a way, in that because so yesterday you made a good comparison where you said it's sort of like the Alien equivalent to The Force Awakens, in that The Force
Yeah.
Awakens was a massive sort of rehash of A New Hope. Um, But I think that in certain circumstances, and I would argue that maybe it was the case in Star Wars too. I think people just bashed it too hard. Is that sometimes that is kind of what a franchise needs if you want to blow life back into it. If you've sort of battered a franchise down a little bit with some rubbish films, often prequels, in both Star Wars and Alien. I think
Hmm.
the thing that was needed to bring it back is to sort of just rehash and retread the original one because it works, and from there you can branch out a little bit. And one thing I really liked is that they didn't just, so they used models for everything. Everything is a physical set. The
Yeah.
aliens are physical. The
It looks
Prometheus
really cool.
milkman is a real man.
Hmm.
But I really like they specifically sought out the original prop makers from Alien, and that sort of fan service is something I really like. I think that
Hmm.
it's a lot more thoughtful than what the kind of Star Wars thing to do is. Hey, look, Luke Skywalker's back because by a certain time, like you kind of don't
Remember
care
him?
about that. Yeah, exactly. Remember him? He was in also the last three series that you watched and also the films. But like,
Yeah.
because they could have so done a CGI Ripley, um, and brought her back, but they didn't. And instead, how they kind of pay tribute and get fans on board is to remake it in a sort of more modern way. And I like that. It's not ambitious and it isn't doing anything new. It's not breaking new ground. But that is the problem with the last couple, with Prometheus in particular. They tried way too hard to break new ground and it was
Yeah.
just not very good. But it is a shame because let's take Star Wars, for example. You do The Force Awakens and you get criticized because you made episode 4 again. So you go, okay, well, let's make The Last Jedi then. And that is, I think, the best of that trilogy, right? I think it's a lot better movie than people said, so you do something really different, and everyone goes, "Well, this isn't the Star Wars I know." Well,
Hmm.
okay, but we just made the Star Wars, and you didn't like that. Like, you can't win. But I think that the best thing about this Alien is that they stripped it right back, and rather than trying to do the engineers again and do all of that nonsense again, they used bits of it, but they really took it back to where it kind of came from, which I like, even
Hmm.
if it is a bit uninspired. It's like I said yesterday, not that anyone heard, is I think it reminds me more of a Rogue One, in that
Yeah.
it pays tribute to the tone of the originals, but it also does take certain risks and it does incorporate new stuff, even though I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And it's not afraid to kill everyone off, which Rogue One did. And I like that because it really does sort of add a bit of weight to the end when you actually think, oh no, maybe Rain or Andy could die
Yeah.
because it happened in Rogue One.
I
Everyone
think,
dies, and
yeah.
I like that. It did take risks for sure. Still,
Yeah. I think because so one of the things that I said that I felt about like how I feel like you could have gone into trying to sort of re-establish the roots of that franchise, which you said was just actually what Alien Isolation is, would be do the thing of having the one alien, right? That none of because none of them seem to know about the aliens. None of them know what they are. Like none of them have ever heard of them before, and suddenly they're presented with like, yeah, like like loads of them that they just seem to be able to deal with reasonably comfortably, especially considering none of them are like combat trained or anything. Like obviously they like most of them die, but like Rain's just like just
I don't think Rain
she
ever
can
really
handle
does
that.
do anything though. She has an automatic gun, and then
No,
just
I know, but an automatic gun that like is like for the super weird space marines, right? That she
no,
can
I
just
don't even mean
handle
that
kind
though. I
of.
mean like she's not shooting the gun. The gun is self-aiming, self-firing. Like it's
No,
on
but
a
like but still, right? She's just like cool and calm pretty much in the face of
yeah.
hundreds of aliens that she's got no idea about. One Give it one alien, and don't do the like Jurassic Park thing, the Jurassic World thing where they're like, okay, it's the same as the T-Rex you've seen before, but this time it's really clever. It's really because that's kind of what the weird milk boy is at the end, right? Where it's like it's half human and it's cleverer, but it doesn't show that at all because it just like gets chucked out of a cargo hatch.
Yeah.
Um,
It was just
and
born though.
yeah, I know, but it's just like I don't know. She's just like Rain is just like inexplicably completely sort of weirdly capable of dealing with these things that she's never ever encountered in her
So
life,
what you
right?
want is to have one alien that they have trouble with.
Yeah.
But that's the original Alien, and that's Alien Isolation, and you've just
No, but no, but give but do that differently. So give so an alien that's like a little bit different. We haven't seen that alien before. It's a slightly different strain, but like it's true to the original design. It's like
is it a
maybe
spookier
it's
one?
got something wrong with it or
Is it
something like
is it a
that.
bit
It's been on that
scarier for
ship for
Halloween?
yeah, a bit scarier for Halloween. Maybe it's been on that ship for like 10 years or something like that, and it's like a bit decrepit. It's falling apart, but maybe that makes it even more hungry and savage. But it's like not as I don't
Okay,
know,
how
just
would
like
you feel if they tried to do, and I think a swing and a miss, they tried to merge it with Prometheus at the end in a bit of a
hmm
hey, do you remember this type thing? How would you feel if instead of it being the xenomorphs throughout the film, it was a whole ship of like prototype Prometheus xenomorph things, such as
hmm
that, and then at the end they kind of deal with them because they're just sort of rubbish prototypes, and at the end they swapped it out and it was a proper hardcore xenomorph instead. Like what if you effectively
I feel
swapped
like
it
that would
round?
be better. That would be
Yeah,
better
I, so do
because then
I.
you have to the fact that there's one xenomorph that they deal with and then there's 50 xenomorphs that they deal with. Like it doesn't make them seem
No,
like
exactly. That's why I think if you switched it
and
round,
it's like how did these things annihilate an entire ship full of like trained guards and like whatever. It's like if she can just get through them all with this special gun, with this one special gun,
No, yeah, you're quite
right?
right.
How the hell did these guys wipe out this entire ship of people who know exactly what these things are?
But yeah, I think that swap it round
Yeah.
would be a better callback to Prometheus because at least it's front and center and it doesn't feel tacked on.
Mm.
And it would also make the Xenomorphs feel a lot scarier in a way.
Yeah.
Which it did when there was only one of them, and it's stalking them around, and you don't really know where it is.
Yeah.
That was great. So if they kept that and instead just made them all Prometheus milk Xenomorphs,
Yeah.
um,
Um, and
that
also,
would
I
be
mean,
better, I feel.
there's a couple of moments as well, like there's stuff like you can't really tell like so you know how they have to make that room that's full of face huggers the same temperature as their bodies so the face huggers can't tell them apart from the rest of the environment by heat.
Yes.
They heat the room up and then they just open the door and leave it open for ages and
I
then walk
saw
in.
someone write this. Yeah, I did see someone say that, and I think to that I say, don't be a nerd.
No, but
You're right. No, you're
there's like
right. You're
constant these
right. I
weird sort
suppose.
of like
Yeah, when you
because the
make it a
movie's
plot
also is
point
totally holding your hand the whole time, being like these are the properties of the aliens, these are the properties of the face huggers, these are the properties of whatever. Like
of the black goo.
remember, you've seen them. Remember these things. This is what they do. It's like the acid for blood thing gets brought up so many times. Like acid for blood, remember? Acid for blood, remember? And it's like I've never seen an alien movie, and I know that. Say it one time, maybe, to remind me, or just show it
Just show
happening,
it.
and
Yeah.
everyone will go, "Oh yeah, oh my God, they've got acid for blood. That's a big problem." Um, but it's like, so they can only see you because of heat. So definitely let's be very, very careful about the heat thing. Oh, just leave the door open. But it's still fine. And it's
Maybe
like
they heated up the
frustrating.
whole
It's
spaceship.
but they didn't because they had to
They might
keep
have
the
put the
door
central heating
closed.
on it.
That was like a whole thing. They had to heat up that room. That's what they keep saying. And it's like
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, just think a bit. Think a
Um,
bit.
what do you? I mean, you've never seen an Alien film, so
Hmm.
how does this hold up as a standalone? All little dumb things aside, all general criticism aside, how does it hold up as a standalone space horror?
I almost think that it would be better if it was.
Yeah,
Um, if there were different aliens, right?
yeah.
If it wasn't the xenomorphs, if it was like something else that we've never seen,
Prometheus Milkman, then like lots of them.
and maybe or maybe like a Prometheus milkman at the end or whatever. But if you've got your other aliens we've never seen, and then at the end you're faced with one that's supposed to be more advanced and more dangerous, right?
Yeah,
Fine, whatever. But if it's like drawing on this really iconic thing that we know to be super dangerous and we know to be super whatever, and that's how it's being dealt with for the whole movie, I think it's detrimental to it. Um, and I think it would have been better if it just was nothing to do with Alien and it was just its own standalone thing and wasn't weighed down by the audience's
but then in this
pre-existing
case, do you
like
think
understanding
that?
of what those creatures are.
And I think this is probably a general thing. I think it was a lot of things. Do you think that we need to sort of stop holding movies to the standard that they have to follow to the letter the franchise? Like, can we not sort of? I don't know.
I think it's just I think you can I think you can just take more care and not hope that the franchise itself is what carries your movie
Well,
because
no,
that's
but
what it feels like it's
yeah,
done.
it has. But what I mean is like, yeah, you're not wrong. But in like Star Wars, for example, again, because it's a big franchise of a similar time, we totally are just fine with the fact that the Force is like not a consistent thing, and it gives like kind of whatever powers they want at the time, and they do and they don't use it at the right times and all this. From film to film, like in one film, Yoda's super powerful, and in the next he's just kind of not, and
Yeah.
that's fine, and we accept that. So why is it? And this is not just aimed at you. This is aimed at kind of everyone. Why is it with certain franchises then we expect them to follow every letter of the law, to what a xenomorph is and how it works. Why can't we just kind of accept that it's different filmmakers making different films, but it's got the general.
Well, it's like the thing, it's like the Harry Potter thing about the fact that across the different movies, Expelliarmus sometimes really lightly pulls the wand of the person who it's cast on out of their hand and perfectly into the hand of the person who cast it. And then sometimes it sends somebody flying across the room through a wall and knocks them out.
Well, exactly. It's like a
Um,
lot of the things in those movies where magic is just like totally inconsistent, and Voldemort
yeah,
is just like sometimes really dangerous and sometimes not. And
yeah.
I think that we'd probably enjoy these franchises a lot more if we stopped sort of being so protective over what they are and just enjoy them for well,
I
I
think
don't
it's
even,
it's like an immersion and a world building thing, right? Where you kind of to believe and to suspend disbelief and to get immersed in something, people want to be able to feel like they understand the rules of that universe that they're getting invested into and they're getting immersed into. And if it's constantly inconsistent, that breaks that immersion. And you think, oh, well, like, regardless of how like realistic or whatever it is, you kind of want to be able to feel like you understand like in this universe what's going on and what these things are. And obviously there's like I mean, you can do that. You can change that and subvert that by, having the main characters not know what this thing is. And so they're finding out how to deal with it,
but then
like
also like
freshly, even if you already know what the thing is
I
as a
raise you
viewer.
this, okay? I Ripley struggles to deal with one alien, and they deal
Hmm.
with like 20 quite easily.
Yeah,
I If I put you in a boxing ring with Tyson Fury, you're gonna struggle. Maybe you'd beat
yeah,
him if you like stabbed him or something. Ripley plays dirty. Maybe if you did that, you'd beat
yeah.
him, but you're gonna struggle. But if I put you in a ring with like 20 starving children, you probably wouldn't struggle so much. So
I don't
like
know, man. I think
why
20
do
starving children are gonna, and also it no,
well
because
they also
also
don't know how to punch.
that would suggest as well though, because the way that she's not like she's in a ring against 20 starving children versus
No,
one
but my
Tyson Fury.
no
She's in
my
the ring
point
against 20 Tyson
no
Furies,
no but no
supposedly.
because no this is what I'm saying. You've not got it.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm saying
You don't
is that
understand.
yeah, what I'm saying is that why like how do we know they're not just rubbish xenomorphs? Like, how
Yeah,
do we not know they're not
I
that like
guess
they've
we
been on a
don't.
ship with like nothing to eat? Everyone's dead. There's nothing on the ship. Yeah, they're the perfect being, but like they've not. It's not like you know, they're having much to hunt and practice on. They could just be a bit rubbish and young as well. Like they could have, like everything ages very quickly. It would seem based on the milkman, but like they could also just be young. And I'm not saying they are, it doesn't say that, but also it would be weird if Rain like turned to the camera and was like, yeah, well, I'm dealing with these pretty easily because they're rubbish ones. Don't worry about it. Like we don't know that they're the same caliber of like every person is different. Why does every xenomorph have to be the same?
Yeah, I mean, sure, but then though, indicate that in some way. Don't go.
But how
Remember the
though? There's
xenophore.
no one
Remember the
there to
xenomorph. There's
say
one
that.
hit. No, but you can. No, but you can indicate that as a filmmaker to an audience of people who know
How do they what
already.
do they show it like struggling to pick something up? Like
No,
no,
make
you
it
they
make it
did
look a little bit different or something like
but they
that.
don't but yeah, but
Or have the robot that knows everything about everything that's telling them all about it, tell them. Like,
So fine, but then do we not does the director not show us that when they all die? Does he not show that they obviously weren't very good? That's enough showing. Because if I watched you just like beat up 20 starving children, I wouldn't be like, oh, if only someone had showed me that they weren't very good at fighting, I would be like, oh yeah, that shows it.
yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't be like if only the fight announcer was like, yeah, these starving children also don't know how to fight.
yeah,
I wouldn't need anyone to tell me that because I've just watched you beat them all up.
I don't know, but that feels like that feels like an unsatisfying kind of like, oh well, I guess these
No,
monsters weren't
yeah,
very
it
good.
isn't very satisfying, but then also it makes the last it makes that one that is very good look better, does it not?
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
it does, but
I think
Yeah,
that that's the least of the problems with the film. I think the biggest problem with power scaling is the film is that this milkman at the end, we keep calling him the milkman, but um,
he's
w-
the offspring
the
is what he's
offspring,
actually called.
okay, the milk spring of Kay,
Yeah,
who gives birth to the milkman, is built up to be like the perfect organism, and then turns out to not be. That is worse because at no point do they go, yeah, these xenomorphs on this ship are the 20 best xenomorphs ever, and then they die. They do say that about the offspring though. They are like, oh my God, what is he? And it turns out he's supposed to be like the perfect individual,
yeah,
but
and
he's
then he just
not.
gets thrown into space and
Yeah, that
dies.
is more disappointing.
Yeah.
And also
Um,
that like why like I feel like it would have been better if she gave birth to him earlier in the film and there was at least some sort of build up of like intrigue of like what's this going to be rather than wham he's born, oh God he's dead.
yeah,
Like that was just
and then
I
that's the end
don't
of the
even
movie.
that is the sort of nitpick I can well not even nitpick. That's the sort of criticism I can get behind because that is an example of what you're saying of like
Yeah,
is this not supposed to be something scary?
yeah, yeah. It was just sort of. I
I
think
get what you're
also,
saying.
and you
You're
know what,
right.
right? You know what might have been, I think, more satisfying as well would be if, because when she puts the alien goo in herself, you're just like, oh, well, obviously it's gonna go bad, right?
Yeah.
And like you know that. Have
Yeah.
it not?
Yeah, because I think the problem is like Bjorn, for example, was a total dick and I hated him. But the whole time I'm thinking he's gonna die in a minute. And you think that about everyone. So
Yeah,
when they do eventually die, I'm not shocked.
no.
I would be
Um,
more shocked if they killed one of the two seemingly like unkillable characters and left her alive.
yeah. I think it would be more interesting and would be more kind of, if that injection that she gave herself of the xenomorph DNA or whatever, right, does save her and her child, and it's like something because he's then because the Rook, right, he's talking about how they need to get the samples back to the thing because it's this incredible breakthrough potentially and whatever, and like have it actually be one that then sets up if you're going to do a sequel, that's something interesting to focus on. Like, oh my God, that this is this new thing. Um, don't just have the obvious where, oh my God, it goes bad and her baby turns even into evil alien.
And I agree, and I think it'd be an interesting sequel in a way if they were having to deal with this sort of weird alien child, that could go either way. But there's a little interesting fact in all of this. That is that Kay is obviously pregnant, and that's like a plot point. They find out halfway through the film that she's pregnant, and oh my God, what are they gonna do? Fede Alvarez, the director, we haven't actually mentioned his name yet. He does, I think, a very good job of this. But Fede Alvarez has spoken about it and said that Kay was heavily inspired by a character in The Last of Us 2 called Dina, who, much like Kay, sort of in the middle of their zombie apocalypse adventure, is revealed to be pregnant and like completely unlinked, unrelated. Before Alien Romulus came out, actor for Kay was also then cast as Dina in the Last of Us Part 2 TV series, which I think is
Does she
very
look like the
cool.
character in the film
Yeah,
in
do
the
you know what?
game?
I actually did think that before I read this. I did think that she looked like her, but I didn't think, oh, they should put her in the TV show
Do you think
because,
maybe
like,
that's why he cast her as the character that was inspired by Dina because she looks like
yeah,
Dina?
I would say probably that is the case.
Yeah.
But then even better if you are not even the one directing the Last of Us 2 TV show and you perfectly cast the character so well that then they also cast the same person as the
Yeah.
character. I think that's brilliant and also quite funny that she's now just going to be playing pretty much the same character in both
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Um,
Does
but
she befall us? Does a similar fate befall her?
no, no, she doesn't give birth to a zombie baby in The Last of Us 2. But like,
That's good.
but the general jeopardy of the
What
situation
about a
of
weird
being.
alien baby?
But I think you're quite right, and it probably would be a more interesting prospect if it didn't go wrong. But then also, I think that we would be sat here going, yeah, what was the deal with that black goo that just let her have a normal baby? Like we would be sitting here doing the opposite of like I feel like that should have built up to something and then didn't. I think they should have just like not done the Prometheus baby.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know. There could have been some other way. I would have even preferred it maybe if like she gave birth and like gave birth fine and was dying as a result, and they used the black goo to try and save her. Like
yeah,
something like that. I just feel like trying to shoehorn in an alien baby like right into the last 15 minutes of the film is just insane.
yeah. I know. Yeah, it just feels poorly thought out and tacked on.
I feel that they were filming it and a producer walks onto set and is like, "Hey, don't forget we've got to plug Prometheus a little bit." Or
Yeah,
don't forget the reference to the original one and I just
yeah,
think that
yeah.
because it doesn't feel like a decision that you would make willingly. But that also kind of brings me nicely onto a point of it would have been quite hard to change the film while filming because the whole film was shot chronologically,
Oh,
which I
yes.
think is really interesting. And I was saying yesterday, I think that it must be quite a weird sort of feeling when you're in a film where everyone dies to suddenly be like one of the only two actors on set because there's no other
Yeah.
people characters. There's like it is you and the alien. I just think that that must be a lot sort of more interesting than filming the scene where you fight the alien and someone dies and then you film your next scene with that person
Yeah.
after they've just died. When you're an actor that's paid that much, I'm sure it doesn't make a huge difference, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
But I know what you mean.
I prefer that to like method acting, which everyone bangs on about. I prefer like the sort of method directing of like once they're dead, they are no longer filming.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a much more interesting prospect than like Jared Leto like eating condoms and stuff. I that's something I would like to see in more horror films.
What,
And
Jared Leto eating condoms?
I don't think I want to see that in any horror films. What I meant to say was I'd like to see chronological directing.
Yeah.
In films where I think it probably only works where people die or
Hmm.
age. You know, um,
Yeah. Like that movie was it Boyhood that they shot in real time over like 15 years,
yes,
where the
yeah.
boy gets older the whole time. And they do it chronologically, presumably you'd have to, because he ain't getting any younger, and none of us are.
Um, to be honest, I think that about does it for Alien. So
Oh,
to wrap up the Halloween festivities, the best and only festive time of the year, would you hold Alien Romulus in higher regard than Halloween? Would you say it's better than Halloween?
I think Alien Romulus it doesn't have half the replay value of Halloween.
Did you have as much fun watching Romulus?
Absolutely not.
No, neither did I. And to be honest, I was no more scared of Romulus than Halloween. And I'm not saying I was
Yeah,
scared of Halloween, but like it probably did a better job of building tension.
yeah.
Okay, I agree with that. That's fine. So is it better than Megalopolis then?
Uh, y- I kind of almost feel like I would give Megalopolis more
Yeah,
rewatch
you're
value
so just
than Alien
wrong.
Romulus.
It's
I'd
probably
sooner
yeah,
watch
Megalopolis is more
Megalopolis
rewatchable.
again than.
That's fine, but that's not the metric we do it on.
Okay, I think
It's not, is it
Alien
more
Romulus,
rewatchable? Is it a
I
better
suppose.
film?
I think maybe I think that Alien Romulus isn't as good of a film as Megalopolis. Maybe I think that.
You don't think it's as good?
I didn't enjoy it as much. I wouldn't watch it again because I didn't
No,
enjoy it
I,
as
I,
much.
I know I get
But
that,
but
but then
then
there's
but
a
then
lot
like
of films that are like that. But I wouldn't watch Oppenheimer
Alien
more than
Romulus
once a year.
is probably a better film than Megalopolis.
I think so too. I don't think it's long before we find a worse film. I just don't think
No.
this is it. So it's going to be forever relegated to mediocrity and nothingness.
Yeah,
So
essentially.
much like last night, there's a big old red lever to my right here.
What
I'm gonna
again
I'm gonna
for us, but for
I'm
the
gonna
first time for the listeners.
I'm gonna pull it up,
made a much weirder sound tonight than it did
Crunch. That's
last
because
time.
it's scarier this time.
Oh, okay.
Um, I just shot Alien Romulus into space. It was so
Oh,
mediocre. I just shot it
you
into
fired it
space.
out into nothing
Oh
forever
my
and
God! I
ever.
left the bay doors open for too long. Michael
Oh
Myers is
no.
climbing in through them.
Oh God.
It's not
Oh
even. It's not
no.
even an alien. It's Michael
Oh,
Myers.
he's here. And he's coming at
Oh,
you with a
no,
knife
we've got to.
really
We
slowly.
have
You
to
should
end the
move.
episode before he gets to me because
Okay,
we've
okay,
got a solid 20 minutes before that happens. But
okay.
he's
Thanks
gonna
for
get
listening,
up the
everybody.
shit.
Josh is about to get stabbed to death by Michael Myers if he doesn't leave the desk that he's sat at right now. So we're gonna have to say goodbye.
No, it's all right. I just walked away. It's cool.
Oh, phew.
I shut the door. I walked away. He's fine.
He's gonna punch through it and
Which
open
gives
the
me
door.
he is, but that gives me ample time to thank everyone for listening to the return of Clovenhoof, the last episode we released. It did like much better than we expected, and we appreciate that. If everyone could kind of continue that and share it with friends, share it with family, drop a comment maybe. Tell us, do you think you could beat 20 starving children in a fight? And more interestingly, do you think you could beat Tyson Fury in a fight? That
Hmm.
is interesting because I don't think there's anyone who can honestly say they. Yeah, thank you everyone, and we will be back next week with a very short episode um, about The Apprentice. Then following that, we will be back in 2 weeks doing The Penguin and the Batman Arkham game series.
Every single one.
Big promises. All right, thank you everyone.
Bye.